Let's talk about Rudy Giuliani, a former federal prosecutor being investigated by current federal prosecutors. And I wonder if Rudy understands that we don't care if he's the president's lawyer or not. If he broke the law, he needs to be held accountable. Because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So we've had some really interesting recent revelations about Donald Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. Here's how Axios reported it. Giuliani asks DHS, Department of Homeland Security, about seizing voting machines. And the article reads in part, Rudy Giuliani called Ken Cuccinelli, second in command at the Department of Homeland Security, and asked him whether DHS could seize voting machines. So now we have Rudy Giuliani contacting federal agencies and telling them, why don't you just go ahead and take the state's voting machines? You know, we actually have a word for that in the law. Theft. The federal government doesn't have magical authority to just take property that doesn't belong to them. Well, except for a little something called eminent domain, by which the feds can take our land, provided they pay us just compensation. That's a topic for another day. Generally speaking, they can't just take things that don't belong to them. But given that that's where Rudy Giuliani's head is at the moment, is it any wonder what we heard reported out yesterday about Rudy Giuliani? Feds consider warrant to see Rudy Giuliani's emails. Now that was a story that NBC News first broke, and here is how it was reported out by New York Magazine. Though the scope of the investigation is still unknown, the report suggests that the investigation into President Trump's personal attorney is still active. As NBC News notes, for the legal request, that is for a search warrant for Rudy's emails and electronic communications, for that legal request to go forward, the Southern District of New York needs Washington's approval before its prosecutors can ask a judge to sign a search warrant for materials like emails and text messages that may be protected by attorney-client privilege. So let's talk about that for a moment. The federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York have been in discussions with Maine Justice, the Department of Justice in Washington, wanting to seek a search warrant for Rudy Giuliani's emails, text messages, electronic communications. So what do we know? We know, and we have known for many months, that the Southern District of New York federal prosecutors were criminally investigating Rudy Giuliani. Not only that, they were investigating and prosecuting Rudy Giuliani's business partners, his associates, perhaps his partners in crime, Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman. I always kind of thought Lev and Igor's Excellent Adventures would be a good name for a movie, but I digress. So we know that the SDNY prosecutors have been going after Lev and Igor, Rudy Giuliani's business partners. Here's what we don't know. What has Bill Barr's involvement in all of this been? Has Bill Barr been a roadblock, a speed bump, a firewall, protecting Rudy Giuliani and by extension, Rudy Giuliani's most famous client? Has he put the brakes on the criminal investigation that we know has been up and running into Rudy Giuliani? We have to ask ourselves that question, particularly in light of this reporting that apparently the SDNY prosecutors have reached out to Maine Justice to try to get authorization for a search warrant for Rudy Giuliani's electronic communications. But you know what we do know, folks? We know that it's all about to come to an end, because Bill Barr leaves the job tomorrow. He's done as Attorney General, thank goodness. And Donald Trump leaves the job of president in a few weeks. But you know what I can promise you? The investigation and prosecution of Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman will continue in the Biden administration. And by implication, the investigation of Rudy Giuliani and perhaps an ultimate prosecution will continue in the Biden administration. Of that, I'm certain. Some people may say, yeah, but you know, Donald Trump is probably just going to pardon Rudy, so it's all for naught. We won't be able to prosecute Rudy for federal crimes. That may be true. Of course, we can still prosecute Rudy if he committed any state crimes. A presidential pardon can't help him on that front. But I would ask you to also keep this in mind. You can only pardon somebody for past crimes. So that if Rudy Giuliani has been in a conspiracy, and if that conspiracy continues beyond the date of the pardon, if Donald Trump pardons Rudy today, but whatever conspiracy they have been in continues after today, well, he's still on the hook because the crime isn't complete, so the pardon will not have full effect. Let me use another example. Mike Flynn. We all know that on November 25th, Mike Flynn was pardoned by Donald Trump for past crimes. But what have we seen Mike Flynn doing in recent weeks? Advocating that the military should go in to states that Donald Trump lost and rerun the election. You know what that is? That's conduct unbecoming an officer, in violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, Article 133. Take it from me, I used to be an Army JAG prosecuting court-martial cases. You know what else it is? It's a violation of the UCMJ Article 134, conduct that brings disrepute, disgrace on the armed forces. So there are some that are suggesting, some former generals in fact, that Mike Flynn should be ordered to active duty so he can be court-martialed for the crimes that he has been committing in violation of the UCMJ in recent weeks after the time he was pardoned. Because remember, you can't pardon future crimes. Now, this is a topic that we're going to take on in some detail tomorrow. But I mention that just to highlight the fact that if Rudy Giuliani's crimes continue beyond the date he's pardoned, and why wouldn't they? I mean, he's Rudy Giuliani. Well, then the pardon will not give him complete immunity from prosecution. And as always, folks, thank you for watching these YouTube videos. Please feel free to hit subscribe if you haven't already. You can also follow me on Twitter at GlennKirshner2. I'm on there all day and night trying to answer your legal questions. And then finally, if you want to support our all-volunteer efforts here, you can go over to patreon.com and sign up to become a patron and support our efforts. If you choose to do that, I will send you a couple of Team Justice stickers and a personal handwritten note of thanks. So as always, folks, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.